I depart.
Are you into the sugar, baby?
What?
You into the sugar early today?
Give me credit. It's the same flipping bag.
You know what's really confusing with this game?
What?
I am currently doing rework on the class I'm playing, so I have to make sure that I keep using the public-facing version and not the one I've been tweaking.
Oops.
Wow, that is fun.
It's like the name of the class is changing. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
It'll be tough.
Yeah, I need to get my monster submitted to Cobalt Press, and I totally forgot to do it, so I gotta ad hoc quick do it tomorrow night.
A weekish?
No, tomorrow, like Saturday is when they want it submitted.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I'm doing the Margrave Forest Cats. Dice Ogre says he can hear us.
Hey internets, it's Jake from Mini Terrain Domain, and this is the Dawnbringers Ghosts of Saltmarsh, where we have decided that M will be hidden behind a cloud. I'm issuing a disclaimer that we are not responsible for anybody else's actions. Each person tonight is responsible for their own actions because we are all apparently a little bit punchy. I'm trying to get you uncovered, M. Give me a second. I don't know why you got obscured. There you go. Oh boy. Welcome to the stream, everybody. This is what it's going to be for the next couple hours.
We're professionals.
Are we? All right. There. As you can tell, I'm not just covering Scotty so that we can't see him, but rather Scotty is not with us tonight. Scotty is I believe at Mace this weekend. So all right, let's try this again. Hey internets, it's Jake from Mini Terrain Domain, and this is Dawnbringers Ghosts of Saltmarsh Season 3, Episode 24, Counsels and Consequences. Whew. I can tell from the look on V's face, that's the first she's noticed the title of the episode. So we're here with you once again on Thursday night, where we like to hang out with all of you fine people as we play Dungeons and Dragons. I'm going to do a couple of the usual announcements and a couple unusual announcements. They're not really unusual. I've just got a couple new things to point out. One is that the Mini Terrain Domain merchandise store is now available. Below the stream, there should be a, if you're watching online, or rather on the Twitch, on the computer, I don't know how it works on mobile, but you can see all the tiles. There should be a new merch tile for the Stream Elements merch store. And you may also see, well, look at that. It just showed up because Jeremy pushed the button and there's a weird face in there, but anyway, that is the new merch store. There are Dawnbringers shirts, as well as shirts and sweatshirts for the, I took it off because it's warm out here, but the Bardic College design is one of them. We have our Mini Terrain Domain logo, Critical Ham, the Hammer Die logo. Lots of cool shirts and sweatshirts that are available there. So if you'd like to support the stream and show your fandom, you can do so through that link. We're going to be promoting the Jasper's Game Day just with progressive heaviness over the next couple of months as we get closer to May 2nd, which is Jasper's Game Day flagship event in Lake Orion, Michigan, where I will be attending along with Satine Phoenix, a few other people, and you'll want to be sure that you are following Jasper's Game Day on social media or following Fenway the Teen DM because they are making an announcement of a special guest this weekend that will be attending this year. But yes, Mini Terrain Domain is very proud to be partnered up with Jasper's Game Day, a tremendous organization that is focused on the raising awareness of and elimination of suicide through tabletop gaming. And so you can, I think that should still be working. I messed around with all the chat commands, so hopefully I didn't turn any off of the critical ones. So through that link that just showed up, you can donate to Jasper's Game Day. Any money that you do donate goes to help benefit and fund crisis centers around the country. Another way that you can show your support and help raise money for Jasper's Game Day is by purchasing some coffee. Get your caffeine on with some Metite roast coffee, a delightful medium roast Brazilian and Peruvian blend that I've partnered with Brian from Initiative Coffee Company and their Help Action. Every 12-ounce bag of this coffee that you purchase, $3 of that purchase price will go to benefit Jasper's Game Day. And in case you wondering about, with a name like Initiative Coffee Company, sounds like they're into RPGs. They are, because Brian is a player in our every other Tuesday night Legends and Legacies game, playing Undertow, a water genasi, spreading the message of the Tide Mother, who I occasionally call Drown because they are also water themed.
But Undertow is so cool. I DM'd for him as Undertow.
Really?
Yes!
I knew he had brought in Undertow from a different setting. But this last Tuesday, we actually also introduced my son, Zach, as a new regular player in the campaign. So I've been obviously playing D&D with Zach for a number of years, but this is the first regular live stream that he's going to be a part of on my channel. So we're excited to have him for that. Let's see what else we got. We talked about the merch. Domain dice. If you look up above my head here, you will see the number +100 and then 3 dice. Those are our domain dice. That is the way that you, the audience, can have an influence on the game. Out of the corner of my eye, I thought you were dabbing me. As you were pointing up to the corner there, or up to the center where the domain dice are. The way domain dice work is, if you tip the channel in increments of $5, if you cheer 500 bits, if you subscribe, if you resubscribe, if we get rated, I award domain dice. Domain dice can be used for a variety of things, most commonly to re-roll a d20 and take the new roll, or force me to re-roll. But they can also spend dice to use hit dice outside of arrest. They can, outside of arrest, not arrest. It doesn't do any good if you've been arrested, which has already happened at least once here in Saltmarsh. Or they can use them to turn failed death saving throws into successful ones. And finally, the Patron's Blessing, 5 domain dice, will turn a hit into a super crit, which is an automatic double max damage hit. And we've seen quite a few of those come into play on this adventure as well. So it's exciting, and you can always keep them flush. They're about to dip below 100, so if we want to keep them up above 100, you can start spamming your subscriptions and donations and tips and whatever. But those will come into play throughout the game. I do believe that is all of the support announcements for the stream, except for the one that is for you, the viewer. And that is this: you matter. Wherever you are, whoever you are, you matter. It's difficult to accept that sometimes, but it doesn't matter. You don't have a choice in that, whether you believe it or not. You matter. You matter to us. You matter to somebody. But if you find yourself struggling with that, we encourage you to seek out help, to talk to somebody professionally. There is absolutely nothing to be ashamed about when it comes to doing this. I myself, within the last 6 months, started seeing a therapist, and it has helped me immensely dealing with my own depression and anxiety. So I encourage people. I encourage everybody to do so. And to help you along with that, at any time during any Mini Terrain Domain live stream here on Twitch, you can type the word !help, and you will see the resources that have popped up in the chat. Thank you, Jeremy, for doing so already. And those resources are also down below in our scroll throughout the stream. They are, of course, first of all, we have the National Suicide Lifeline here in the United States that is available at 1-800-273-TALK, or that's 1-800-273-8255. If you are a veteran, you can press the number 1 after you dial that number and be connected with a veteran specializing counselor. Or if you prefer, you can dial 741-741 or rather send a text to 741-741. If you are among our Canadian friends, you can text the word connect for English or parlay for French to 686-868. That is the crisis text line in Canada. Or you can call the Canada Suicide Prevention Services, available in French or English, toll free, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 1-833-456-4566. And finally, if you are among our friends throughout the world, in other countries than the United States and Canada, you can head over to opencounseling.com/suicide-hotlines. And there is a whole list of resources that are available by country, mostly phone numbers and a few text lines as well for around the world. So once again, we urge you to use those resources if you need them or think you might need them. And I have set up a new chat timer, so you should see that help reminder popping up roughly every half hour during the stream. But if it doesn't, you can type the word help with an exclamation preceding it. All right, that is now all of our announcements. It's time to play some Dungeons and Dragons. The last few sessions have seen me torturing my players a little bit, whether through creepy whispers or mysterious memory-stealing monsters. Having finished up essentially saving the town of Saltmarsh, they were told to get the heck out because quite a few people had died in an assault from a all-construct run metal warship mounted to the back of a dragon turtle. And there were those that said that the attack would not have come had it not been for the Dawnbringers' presence. They headed back to their recently liberated smugglers and slavers' house that was being run by a dozen refugees that they had rescued, along with 40 new refugees recently liberated from the Dreadnought, the aforementioned ironclad warship. When they arrived there, things seemed a little bit odd from the original refugees, and it wasn't long before they began to have their minds and their memories assaulted. They discovered that they were dealing with a thing that was described as a memory eater, and it was causing projections, hallucinations, and ultimately was trying to destroy them. But during the after taking a long rest to heal up, they went into the house, and Drown quickly reacted to an attack from a tendril and grabbed hold of this with Griveth's help. And because he did not let go, they were able to trace it to its source and find the creature that was stealing their memories, a giant ooze filling an alcove in the rock behind one of the walls of the basement, where all 12 of the previous refugees were being held in stasis. They ganged up on it and quickly eliminated it. Unfortunately, in the process, 3 of the original refugees, Barlin, Vagran, and Montree, were killed. 9 of the original refugees now remain, including the brother and sister Velitha and Laramie. We are going to pick up in the aftermath of this assault. You have destroyed this creature. The 3 bodies now lay on the floor. Laramie and Velitha have gone to the other room where the beds were that they were staying. and grabbed some of the blankets off of there and have covered the bodies. The others are helping one another to get up and move out of this room, to get away from this scene of carnage and death. The only sign of this creature left is the residual sort of slime and ooze, this sort of sticky residue that clings to anybody that was affected by it. Drown, you probably have some of it sort of wrapped around your fingers. It's kind of become like almost like a tacky adhesive that you sort of have to roll, and it takes a little bit of effort, but as you're just dealing with this, some of you have sustained injuries, both physical and mental. Dawnbringers, what would you like to do?
I think Talmud is kind of off to one side of this area that's kind of open behind the fireplace, and he's kind of leaning against the wall and catching his breath as he kind of returns to being more himself. And he looks around and he sees these 3 bodies being covered up with these blankets, and he starts to get very concerned. Oh no. What did I what happened? Did I do this?
No, this one wasn't you.
Oh,
It was the creature.
what creature?
The large, slimy, tendrily thing? You didn't see that.
Oh, I mean, I saw the tentacle things upstairs, but
The thing that we've been fighting for the last day? Are you that out of it, cousin?
I mean,
You did develop someone new.
Sometimes in battle, another visage takes over you. Do you remember anything of those times?
no. No,
So that's good enough for Drown. He just kind of turns and heads over to where the bodies are being covered. And when nobody's messing with them, he is going to take a few moments to sort of check the bodies over and see if he can figure out what killed them, if there's anything obvious.
Okay.
Are you trying to do it like subtly, or you're just trying to?
I mean, not particularly. There's not a whole lot subtle about an 8-foot-tall half giant lumbering over toward a bundle.
Speaking of subtlety or the lack thereof, it is worth noting that there is still a giant sort of sputtering, watery fire elemental standing by.
Kind of a half steam elemental.
Yeah,
there's a few things.
It's just left to stand wherever it is. Actually, most of the remains of the creature were kind of burning or drying up or shriveling, or is it left a bunch of residue everywhere?
It just left a sort of residue, as a lot of it did indeed sort of shrivel up, dry up, and almost evaporate. Just anything or anyone that was touching it seems to have this residue.
So Drown, on his way over to where the bodies are being covered, will just sort of say offhandedly to the fire elemental, scour the room, destroy everything that's left of that creature. Just on the things, not on the people. And so he'll let the fire elemental basically just sort of drift around the room, burning.
There's a brief moment where when you say that, before you clarify, that it starts to reach for you. And then it sort of stops, and then it begins moving around, and just sort of begins to wave its hand in a couple places. Like it actually steps into that alcove, and in much the way that it when it moves through like under doors or through cracks that are an inch wide, it sort of dissipates for a moment its corporeal form and just goes across the stone in this alcove, and you hear this as it just briefly flares up and then reforms itself, taking care of that alcove. And then more subtly, it begins going around, just sort of looking, maybe moving a little carefully around the people. So every once in a while, the fire elemental will move past one of you to try not to touch you. So Drown, as you are investigating in Thorgarn,
and I'm not gonna like flip the bodies over.
Right. You're just kind of giving them.
I'm just pulling the blanket off, kind of carefully looking them over, seeing if I can find any evidence of what actually killed them.
I'm not very observant. I don't know a whole lot of medicine, but I'm gonna lend a hand.
So I'm trying investigation. I could attempt medicine, but that's.
I don't think I've got that one either.
So with Thorgarn's help, you can roll with advantage as you make an investigation check.
Delightful. Well, thank you for the advantage. Whew, that was almost terrible. 19.
All right, go ahead and do it 2 more times. 1 for each body.
Sure. Second one is merely a 13. And this one is 21 on the final.
Okay. So looking over all 3 of the bodies, you are able to determine that they do have some superficial wounds that were sustained in the onslaught of fire attacks near the end of dealing with this creature. Oops. There's some reddening of the skin, maybe some blistering in places, singed hair, but it's nowhere near enough that it would have killed them outright. It seems to be just sort of a residual effect of what was happening. None of them have any other signs of physical trauma about them, save for each one of them has in a different spot. One of them has around its neck has red marks where it looks like something probably strangled it. Another one has around its, looks like from in fact it's Barlin. He has from his shoulder across, and you can see where from his shirt was his tunic was sort of partially open, and that's kind of what drew your eye to it. It looks like that one of these tendrils probably caught him across the shoulder, wrapped around under the other arm, and then another one you find them on Montree's around his legs. All of them appear to have succumbed to tendril attacks and had been drawn violently into this thing. Otherwise, all of them are extremely white, pale white, have where before they didn't have this. All of them have at their temples and around the roots of their hair has gone white. And they seem to most likely have succumbed to the psychic attacks of this creature.
Right. So there's nothing physically on them that would account for them having been killed. So it was probably the trauma of the mind manipulation that this thing does that I think most of us have gotten a taste of at this point. So, all right. So I'll cover up the bodies again, and I'll shake my head at Talmud and say, "You didn't do this. The creature killed them when it ripped their minds out of them."
But
I think I understand that more than I really care to.
9 made it out.
Whatever that was, what was that?
Some sort of eater of memories.
Was it here the whole time?
Do we have any way of knowing?
Fig, make me a history check.
That is a 12.
You having observed this thing with complete detachment, at no point did this thing ever able to influence you. You sort of had this unbiased observation, watching everything. And you do, having finally seen the end results, you recognize something from your memories of all of Copernicus's books that you absorbed, and even a bit of the absorbed memories of Archimedes, that these things are indeed referred to as memory eaters or memory thieves, that they will generally form in places where there is large concentrations of people in a small place, and they can grow from a rather and mature rapidly from a what can appear to be just a small sort of ooze or slime, and that they thrive on powerful memories, both good and bad, but they also are not very common.
So I'm wondering if while this is all happening, would Fig be able to, before the flame elemental comes and cleans everything up, would Fig just be able to just take a small sample of this goo?
Yeah, absolutely.
I imagine that he kind of he took a bunch of the stuff from that laboratory, a bunch of like these little vials, and put them in his hat. So he takes it out and he kind of rustles in his hat and he takes out this small little vial and he just kind of picks up a little piece and just kind of plop, cork it and put it back in his hat.
Okay, make a note of that in your inventory, that you have a vial of memory eater ooze. We'll say that you were able to gather about, actually, you know what? Make me a I'm not sure what this would be. A nature, or I guess you could use your intelligence, since that plays into properly gathering samples. I'm going to use this to determine how much you're able to gather successfully.
Okay. That's 10.
You're able to get about an ounce of this stuff. So maybe in one of these like vials, you get it about half full. It's about a 2 ounce vial, and you fill it about half full. The ooze does have a sort of it almost appears completely translucent and clear, but you notice that there is a pink sheen to it, a pink hue. Tint, that's the word I was looking at. Or 4. Okay. Cantriel, your mother is still drawn out in her shadow form. What are you doing in the aftermath of this? I believe you had fired a couple arrows from across the room at this thing, if I'm not mistaken, because you had shifted your oath vow for your bow to this creature. What are you doing while Thorgarn and Drown are examining the bodies? Fig appears to be analyzing the leftovers. The fire elemental, I imagine, just sort of briefly moves past you in the shadow form of your mother. I don't know if you speak. I'm drawing a blank on what the fire elemental language is. It's
primordial, specifically Ignan.
Ignan is what I was looking for. So I don't know if you speak Ignan, but it says the Ignan equivalent of "excuse me" as it's sort of shuffling past, and you just. What are you doing, Cantriel?
Probably once the fire elemental goes by, sort of look over to Mother, and well, that was an adventure.
You seem to be getting yourself into escalating degrees of trouble of late.
Well, it seems to be leading to answers, at least, like my dragon tutor.
So you met Vantage, then?
Yes, she made some things known.
Well, I suppose that it had to come to this eventually. How much did she tell you exactly?
Well, essentially all of it, as in you were all taken because of our ancestry. And this can all happen again because I'm still alive.
She stares off, suddenly very interested in what the fire elemental is doing. There's a long pause. Something tells me that this information in no way is going to deter you, and if nothing else, is laying out a path for your future endeavors.
Well, quite frankly, it doesn't seem like I'm going to have much of a choice. Either I face it head on or they're going to try and get me. I'm not going to hide this time.
Then that's good. You understand that our ability to say anything to you was hindered by the dragons. Even now, I have limited memory of much of what was before. But I never would have wished this upon you, and definitely would not have wished this upon your father and your brother and sister. I will answer as many questions as I can. I will be as honest with you as I can. But I have not been alive for nearly 100 years. And as I said, is much I cannot remember. But I may be able to point you in the right direction to seek answers where I cannot help directly. Something tells me, as she looks around the room, Fig is about 10 feet away, scraping residue, moving from small pile to pile, scraping residue into a glass vial, holding it up. Drown and Thorgarn are sort of muttering, pointing at different injuries, talking amongst themselves. And I'm not sure what Talmud's doing at this moment. As as she just looks around at all of the Dawnbringers, Griveth, I imagine, is praying to Eldath and offering sort of ceremony of last rites of sorts over the bodies. She looks around at all of these friends of yours and says, "You have much help. People that care about you. People that will help you to find the answers you're looking for and that have become inexorably interwoven in your own destiny. Trust them. Lean on them.
Something tells me you're right. You always were good at reading others.
Not well enough, it seems.
Well, at least this time, 2 hits are better than 1.
Well, you've got certainly more than 2 heads available to you as well.
This is true.
Answer me this one thing, though. Did the Lady Vantage, did she keep her promise? Is she offering you her help?
That was almost the first thing she did offer.
You see her sort of close her eyes and just you hear that inhale of okay. No matter how good they seem, it is always a dangerous thing getting involved in the affairs of dragons. Had always held her in high regard, but I was never certain 100%. Though she did promise that if anything happened to us, that she would look after you and your brother and your sister. And it seems as though she is finally fulfilling that promise.
Very much so. Oh, by the way, before you go back in the bow, Griveth's sword speaks. 2 of you could probably have a chat if you wanted.
Please tell me that this is not an entity of some darkness, like whatever was shadowing him before.
Left to be determined?
In nearly a century of inhabiting this magically enchanted bow, I have never encountered another sentient weapon.
Well, maybe the 2 of you could have tea.
I shall certainly try to
It
communicate. I don't know about the tea.
Well, maybe more to figure out or determine what he might be dealing with again.
I will see what I can do, as I'm suddenly realizing such a thing would mean a conversation between
the 2
myself
of them.
and myself. I think I just found a perfect NPC role for somebody I've been talking to about guesting on the stream, a mutual friend of some of us. So I will reach out to her because that could be fun, having somebody guest as a sentient weapon. I've never done that before. Yes, she says that she will see what she can do to communicate with Griveth's weapon.
Sorry.
Hey, I hesitated saying that as well. I felt like I had to make sure I chose my words carefully.
It's never safe around me. You know this.
All right. Was there anything else you wanted to say to your mother?
No, at this point, it's more the kind of nodding to the bow, knowing she's been out for a while and probably needs a good rest herself. since she doesn't go back in until I tell her to.
Before she dissipates, you feel a bit of... There's no real weight from her hand in her shadow form, but what you would almost expect as it sort of passes through your shoulder a little bit to be cold, in fact, is the opposite. It feels quite warm. And she looks you in your eyes, and as she begins to dissipate and sort of just move, sort of like if the bow was emitting smoke, it's in reverse. And you just hear her say, "I'm very proud of you, Cantriel." And then she returns to the bow form. Talmud, what have you been doing during this time after confirming that you were not responsible for these deaths and while this conversation's been happening?
I think after he's made sure that there's not anything immediate that needs his attention, he's going to kind of wander off. He's going to head back upstairs and go outside for some fresh air if anybody is asking. He's just kind of uncertain in general at this point what exactly is going on and how he's going to manage going forward. And I think he's going to spend some time just kind of out in the open air trying to contemplate this.
You get a few nods from as you pass out or pass through the one room. Velitha and Laramie nod to you. Some of the others, as they're treating them for various injuries and just making sure they're fine, they just smile weakly at you, or just a couple of them just stare in your direction as you head up the stairs. Everything is back to normal as far as it no longer holds any semblance of the hallucinatory terrain. You do have to circumnavigate the hallway, which now has a large hole in the floor, but you're able to make your way outside. And where would you go? Towards the back of the house, towards where the gate to the property is, where you had camped for the night with all of the refugees, towards the woods?
Definitely not towards the woods. I think probably back to where they had camped the night before. Okay. And he just busies himself, kind of restoking one of the fires from last night or something. Busy work as he's thinking.
Cantriel. Oops.
Oh, go ahead.
Cantriel would probably go after Talmud, seeing him sort of wandering off.
He's going to get a few minutes head start as he left while you were conversing with your mother. But you were definitely able to, with a passive perception of 20, to note that he left and headed off. Talmud, give me a perception check.
It's a 16, Chief.
So, not being able to head down the hallway with this big gaping hole in the floor, the room that when you emerge from the trap door, this room does have a door on the northern wall. There's a patio out back that's sort of overgrown. And you head out back, and you notice, as you're sort of heading around towards one of these fires, that when you all first approached this house, Laramie was staring out standing on the edge of this pond next to a tree and was staring out across the water. There is no tree and there is no pond. It appears as though those may have been early aspects of the hallucinatory terrain. It's just rolling grass hills back there. So make of it what you will, but as you're heading out, you just sort of glance in that direction and maybe like, oh, and you see that there's nothing there that was there before.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think Talmud's chalking that up to his spotty recollection of things. What is fact and what is fiction are becoming kind of hard to distinguish between.
As you are, when you first show up to the fire, you start stoking the flames on one of these a little bit, moving the logs around, rekindling the fire. You hear the sound of footsteps approaching, and an older looking dwarf who you recognize as, and I keep forgetting what his name is. It's Valerian. I'll write that down on this sheet that where all my other names are. Valrin. It's Drown's friend, Valrin. He walks up to you, Talmud, keeping you between him and the house. And you can see maybe a few of the other refugees watching from a distance. You are the one they call Talmud, yes?
Oh, aye, yeah, Talmud. Of Clan Gadarun.
I am Valrin. Don't think we had not properly been introduced.
No, I knew that you had business with Drown before in well, I'm glad that you're safe.
Are we? You have come out of this house. Is everything okay? Where is Drown?
He kind of looks back at the house over his shoulder, and it's pretty obvious that there's, blood kind of coming out of his ears, and there's a few wounds on his body as well. He's back inside the house. He's fine. Everyone is, well, almost everyone is fine. A few of the refugees, well, they didn't make it.
That is unfortunate. You seem to have fought hard, whatever it was.
I have no idea how to even describe what I did actually even see, which sadly wasn't much.
Well, the others wanted to know if it was safe. We've been waiting out here for a little while after you went inside. And
everything seems to be safe, at least for the moment. Oh, there is a rather large hole in the middle of the floor in the hallway, so mind your step.
Is it safe to go into the house?
I think, yes, I think it should be safe.
I will go and talk to the others, and I will get a couple of them. And we will go in and assess before we send everybody in there. But he places a hand on your shoulder.
Talmud kind of like starts almost when he does that.
He quickly pulls his hand back. I'm sorry. I mean only to reassure you and thank you.
Oh, it's fine. I've just had a couple of very long days, is all.
I can relate a little too well to what you mean.
Well, my idea of safe is probably not quite the best way to judge. So perhaps it is a best idea for you to go in and look for yourselves.
We will do this. Excuse me. As he suddenly looks up over your shoulder, he takes a step back and sort of gives a nod in your direction, Cantriel, as you walk up and find Talmud talking to Valrin. And you absolutely following out, you would have also noticed the absence of the pond and the tree out back. He just gives you a nod, Cantriel. It is good to see that you are well as well.
Well, better than some. And she'll look down at Talmud and kind of arch a brow. If you're looking for Drown, he's downstairs. Just watch your step, mind the gap type of thing. There's some remodeling happening.
I have heard this. Not surprising when fighting and dwarves are involved.
You're not wrong. Though it wasn't dwarf caused.
Well, that is surprising then. I will leave you to discuss whatever you have to discuss. I will get a couple others and we will go inside and before we begin bringing everybody in. And thank you again. And he bows once more and heads over to where the rest of the refugees are, leaving Talmud and Cantriel to converse.
What'd you do with the tree in the pond?
So you saw the tree in the pond that was here before also?
Yes.
I would say that I didn't do anything with them at all, but I'm not completely confident in that answer.
That did a number on you.
Well, I mean, it was some kind of strange creature. It defied reason and logic. I think it did a number on all of us, I would like to think.
Well, I can help you out a little bit at least, if you'll let me.
How so?
I'll kind of look down to like the scrapes and cuts in the ears with blood coming out of them. You're not exactly looking in your prime, dear, right now.
Yeah. He kind of like touches the blood coming out of his ear. That's kind of new.
Well, maybe let's make it not new and not there at all.
I'd appreciate it very much. Thank you.
All right. So I'll get down on my knees just to sort of be more towards his level. And I'm going to put my hands on your head.
All right. Fine.
And just like gently sort of like cup around your ears and just hum very softly. And you'll feel this warmth starting to emanate from my hands. And it's almost like feathers are starting to tickle the sides of your ears. But then you feel it's more of a comforting sensation as opposed to tickling. Just hold still a little bit longer. And I'll do Cure Wounds at 3rd level for you.
That feels really strange.
Yes, but it's going to help you feel really better if you just let me do what I need to do. And you will get... Well, hold on. I'm not going to Hunter's Mark you. That would be bad.
Probably wouldn't be the first time.
I clicked on the wrong one. Oh, that actually not too bad. Okay, so that is going to be 18 points healing.
18. Gracias. Oh, that's not damage.
Okay, see, it's not just me clicking the wrong thing.
There we go. That's better. So some of the wounds kind of seem to knit and things, and he kind of visibly relaxes a little. His shoulders kind of slump a bit. Thank you. Thank you, Cantriel. I appreciate that very much.
Sure. Now that's the physical. What about the mental?
Oh, there's no solving that.
Can you talk about anything?
I mean, what do you want to know?
Who is your daddy and what does he do? I'm kidding.
Well, I don't really know how to put what is going on.
Perhaps more, who might the new friend be? Or family member in this case? A wee girl?
Yes. That is that's Brelney.
What's her story?
She was my daughter.
Talmud.
It's not really something that I like to talk about very often. It's kind of difficult.
Rightfully so.
She didn't live to be very old, even by human standards, you know?
She didn't strike me as far too many years in, based upon, well, her actions and what she was saying.
Even just the thought of her being there in whatever danger still kind of makes me uncomfortable, upset, worried. That doesn't make much sense, though, does it?
Makes perfect sense. You still want to protect your daughter. That's not going to change.
Except that I couldn't.
Well, you had us there. We could. And clearly we did, because you're still standing here. Yes, maybe a little bit worse for the wear, but you're still with us.
For now, at least. For better or worse, I suppose.
Not so much as worse as you were before.
So, if you could, maybe not say anything to the others. I mean,
I know bards are known for certain things. When have I ever fallen to those typical tropes?
Well,
outside of the sarcasm and being a pain in the ass.
You said it, not I.
I fully owe up to it. But I'm not a gossip, Talmud. Besides, family's sacred like that. It's not mine to share.
Thank you, Cantriel, again for the for everything.
Of course. Call me Triel.
Okay.
Less to say. Faster.
Very well then, Triel.
They've had this conversation the whole time like this, haven't we?
That's up to you.
Yeah, she probably would have moved her hands down at some point. Right. So If you need to talk more about this, just let me know.
I might.
I'm gonna go try and start fixing the hole.
Right. I've got a fire to stoke anyways, so
You mean that literally, right? I think it's time we have some
kind of like pokes the fire.
good. Let's not rile anyone up because we seem to be doing a damn good job of that elsewhere.
Down in the basement of the house, after a little bit, obviously, Fig, you're able to secure your sample. It didn't take you, this entire time to gather a sample. What are the other three of you doing?
So I was gonna go, seek out Fig. It's been, a lot that's happened over the last couple of days, and there hasn't really been a whole lot of chance to kind of get into it. So, Fig, how you holding up?
I think as you walk up on Fig, he's doing this perhaps very odd activity with Hermes where he has this stick and he's like holding it up above his head. And he's getting Hermes to go up on his tippy toes so that he's looking at the stick, and then he takes the stick and he goes down so that Hermes is like almost sitting down to like look at this stick and kind of like going up and down. And he looks over. These past few days have been quite eventful, I would say.
Didn't really get to see all of what transpired with that captain, but did you put, I don't know whether it was a he or a she or whatnot, but like you put whatever's in your face of the captain inside yours, but you don't really seem different. But I'm worried.
Yes, I do admit I have done something that I regret, perhaps, or am unsure of. It's very different for me. I could not stand the idea of killing someone who I saw myself in. If I had not gone with you, if I had gone down another path, I could have easily gone the same way as she did. I wanted to show her. I wanted to show her what it was like for me.
So, are you able to access her thoughts? Can you talk to her inside your head? Or like, are you just holding a part of her for later? I don't want to, like, I don't understand all of the magic stuff. It's not really been a pursuit or study of mine. And like he trails off, like he wants to say more, but isn't.
I do not know what will become of this. I can access her memories, her knowledge, but just as a core, I have not been able to access her emotions, and she has not spoken to me. But I suppose she might be angry with me right now.
Fig, make an insight check.
Ooh, it's a 19 on a die for a 19.
Even as you're saying this to Thorgarn, you sense that, to the best of your ability to discern it, the presence of Archimedes, you can definitely feel that there's more to, like, you can feel the expansion, I guess, of your own mind, but it feels very integrated within your own mind. But at the same time, you sense that there is a distant shadow of this other entity that is Archimedes. And for the briefest moment of visual of the physical form of Archimedes pouting in a corner of a room, just that visual sort of solidifies for a moment and then is gone.
I think with that, Fig would just nod. Yes. Angry.
Well, if you ever feel the the need to talk, if you ever feel that there's an issue, do not hesitate. Any of us, specifically me, reach out. We will do what we can.
Tell me, what was it like for you to have this thing, this memory thief in your mind?
Well, I don't know your past. I know you told about time where you weren't together, but this thing seemed to. Drown said something about eating memories, but I didn't feel like anything was taken. But even in the anger of my rage, it brought out the worst moments of my life. It filled me with this dread of the death that seems to surround and follow me. That it's out there. I'm thankful to have survived. And when we were looking at that house, seeing the fallen survivors, Drown was like, they're all dead. We're not going to be able to save them. 9 of them are alive because of us. So while in the fight, when it's prying into our brains, I felt that dread. I felt that loss, that pain. But I now have a new weapon to fight against that has been building for a while. But this is the first sign that we really have a shot, and that's hope.
You keep saying when people die around us, not again. You make it seem like this has happened to you specifically before.
I've lost a lot of people in my life. Most notably, my mentor, and I may have shared with you or not, but I don't even look behind me this time. But I just kind of point behind my right shoulder. My mentor, the one who guided me in faith before I took up weapons and rage. I was supposed to be a priest. I was supposed to tend fires and souls, help the clan. And on my pilgrimage to be welcomed into the faith and be given actual powers, Orcs attacked and killed everyone but me. I somehow survived. And it's happened time and time again. The family that I found here seems to be able to shrug off whatever it is that's been following me. Yeah, there's been a few people that have been close enough that have felt that death. Roland, a couple townsfolk, Oleander Fireborn. Some might say it's coincidence. Some might say that there's something about me that's causing this to happen. I don't rightly know. But wherever I go, death happens. Sometimes it's to my enemies, sometimes it's to my friends. I'm trying to get past it.
I think you'd see Fig, when you kind of gesture, you'd almost see Fig kind of like move as if he could see who is behind you, and then move back. Perhaps instead of thinking about who has died in your presence, think about all of those who you do not see behind you, because you have saved them, because they are alive because of you.
That is a good thought, and that is something that I will definitely look towards. Now, those spirits that you're looking for, they're not always there. But you've seen in the heat of battle when the spirits, come out to call from my cousin and I. They aid us in battle. They have kinship. They care about what it is that we do. But when he's in the heat of battle, he gives himself over to it. I don't do as my cousin does. Therefore, I retain everything that's there. So most of the time, I can look behind me and see at least one, if not several, of those people who have gone before, whether it's their time or not. Who can truly say? But they are there. I can converse with them. As far as I'm concerned, that's their spirit. They sound just like they did in life. They act like they did in life. They're just spectral, and only I can see them.
That is a lot of knowledge.
There's been times it's been helpful. But part of me, has gotten used to it over the years. They're there. I'm going to see them. I don't even know what it would be like now to not have them.
And Thorgarn, as you say that, you just sort of glancing around, you see the always present spectral image of Father Griffin in faint outlines of all these other spirits that are always there. Cantriel, by now you would have made it back into the house. What would you have done? Would you have gone, you said something about repairing the hole. Would you have gone there? Would you go back down into the basement where the others are?
How big is the hole again?
Well, it was big enough that Drown and Griveth fell through it. It's pretty much a 10-foot.
I don't want to.
It's 5 foot by 10 foot.
I think I'd probably spend like a few minutes trying to mend it and then realize it's going to take a lot more than just some mending. So I'll probably head back down.
I would say that if you spend a few minutes mending, in just a few minutes, you're able to accomplish eliminating all the jagged edges, where it was like literally broken. It now weirdly looks as if the hole was intentionally put there. Where there were splintered plank floorboards and timbers, it's now looks like it was intentionally cut that way.
Now we just need a pole.
So yeah, that'd take you just a few minutes to accomplish that with mending. And then you said you were heading downstairs?
Yeah, just to see if the other refugees were able to kind of get back up or out, or how they were, just check and see how everyone else was doing.
Yeah, there is in the main area, or rather the area where you had fought this creature, there is another set of stairs that leads up to the kitchen. And Velitha and Laramie are beginning to escort the others. And Griveth is working with them to carry out the 3 bodies. You see, as you come down, Fig and Thorgarn are having a quiet conversation off to one side. And Drown is left to his own devices.
Drown, during Fig and Thorgarn's conversation, probably, I mean, not terribly subtly, listened in, overheard a fair bit of it, but then kind of left and gave them their space, and called the fire elemental to follow him, and then probably led it down through the tunnels toward the sea cave, and then pointed out to the ocean and commanded it to walk until you no longer can and return to your home. Your service is done. And so he just sends the fire elemental out in the water, which slowly begins to dissipate its essence as it travels.
Yeah, it takes not much time before it disappears into the rising tide.
Yeah. Just let's get rid of that and not risk losing my concentration and having it go berserk and kill everyone down there.
Elemental go boom.
So
I know
we'll
a
just let it
certain
go. We'll let
I
it
know
go
a
kill
certain
itself in water.
warlock that's lost control of a few earth elementals in their time. I'm looking at M for no reason in particular.
None.
So after that, he'll probably head back inside. And I know there were a lot of supplies and other things just sort of scattered down there, both from the smugglers and from the, just the keeping up of the house. So he'd be looking for lumber if there is any. I don't know if they had any for like repairs or building holding pens or anything like that. And if not, then just like crates and things that could be broken down into wood that could be used to repair the hole.
There were quite a few crates. Most of that stuff had been brought into the basement proper. The refugees had organized a lot of the supplies. They had brought in a lot of the food. You'll actually remember that quite a few of the crates and some other trestles and things are upstairs because that's where you were having dinner the night before. They were being used as makeshift tables and whatnot. So there's plenty of that. As you are sort of heading back that way, I would imagine you head up the stairs into that area where those crates are.
Yep.
And Cantriel is just coming in through that back patio door. And we'll see what they have to say to each other when we return from a break. We're going to go ahead and we are going to take about a 10-minute break now. So go ahead, refresh and eating. refresh your beverages. Do whatever else you got to do in the next 10 minutes. Stick around. We will be back with more Dawnbringers after. Well, not really these messages. I guess there'll be one 60-second ad, but after these messages, we'll be right back. And we're back. So Drown, as you come up into this area, you notice that besides the fact that some of these makeshift tables with the trestles and pieces of wood, and some of them are just literally just crates that were being used to as makeshift tables, so everything's sort of knocked askew from the events of the previous night.
That's fair.
But you also notice that it appears as though the food that any food that was on plates is rotten, dried up. It's not grossly. It's not like crawling with maggots or anything like that.
Not a Havisham situation.
It is whispering.
Good reference.
It is whispering at you, though. I'm just kidding.
Don't.
As Cantriel, as you walk in, Cantriel. No, it is all of that food that is out there has rotted much faster than it should have overnight.
Yeah.
But any food that was still in storage appears to be okay. As you move one of the crates, it seems that everything in there is fine. As you are just beginning to kind of assess, look at, what you could use to possibly repair this hole in the floor, Cantriel comes walking in through that back patio.
So he's taking lids off crates, finding relatively empty ones, and if he has to move stuff around to make room, he can. He'll kind of pause when he notices the movement and sort of incline his head.
What are you doing?
Looking for materials to replace the boards in the hallway.
Oh, I edged it off. We just need a pole now.
A pole?
Yes, just put it in the center. We can slide up and down.
Oh, I suppose that would work.
I'm kidding. We do that and we're going to have problems.
Seems reasonable. Perhaps a rope.
Oh, pulley system. That could be fun. Fig could do that.
If you want to do it the easy way, I suppose. I was thinking climbing.
No, I think if we got gears involved, maybe some platforms, let them go up and down.
I'm
Like
sure the dwarves will be interested.
This could turn into a fun project. Team building.
I'll leave them to it.
All right. How are you holding up after all of that kerfuffle?
He kind of pauses and stares kind of off into the middle distance and assesses for a little bit. I feel like there's fog in my mind. Like you've been woken from a dream that was so real. And now everything else seems like it must surely be the dream.
That seems to be going around.
Did you know the stone giants think that the surface world is a dream?
I did not.
They believe only what lies under the mountain, anything made of stone. Soft, growing things, things that see the sun and the sky. None of that is real to them. It's a place of prophecy and madness.
They would have loved where I'm from then. What about in terms of physical injuries? I might be able to help.
Bruised, but most of the harm that thing did was here.
Well, contrary to popular belief, I'm a very good listener.
That's not exactly what I meant.
I know, but I feel like I owe you.
For what?
Oh, I don't know. 2 little cursed objects that I have in my pocket.
Oh, I'd almost forgotten.
Do you do that often? Just randomly lift curses off people?
I don't meet many others who are cursed. So
That
no.
wasn't a no.
No, I don't often do that.
Don't you worry they're going to stick with you instead?
They'd be foolish to. What's already clinging to me would eat them alive.
So and she kind of like waves her hands around. They're like a part of you, or?
He looks down at the black tentacles tattooed across the back of his hand and around his fingers. These? No. These are the mark of the hunger that for some reason spared me. It keeps the curse at bay. And believe me, I've tried. My tricks are no avail.
Something tells me you're going to be a rather interesting person to get to know there, Drown.
That remains to be seen. But it's good that you're optimistic.
Not really.
So that was your mother in your bow.
Oh, yes. There's a story to that.
I'm sure there is. That is her spirit, her remains.
From what I can tell, it's her spirit. Where her remains are,
Well,
don't exactly know.
Hmm.
But, there's a tragic backstory of my family and everything like that, of course. But every so often she can pop out of the bow and help out.
many of you carry your pasts with you, it seems.
Apparently, it's a thing.
Huh.
Not like you do.
Oh no, my ancestors will have nothing to do with me.
That's not the part of the past I was talking about.
And what were you talking about?
You're haunted. There's something going on there. Not saying you have to tell. I'm just saying there's more than meets the eye. And I can kind of pick up on things.
There really isn't. There's a story, sure. But you know the parts that matter. I was cursed and cast into the sea, and for some reason, the sea chose not to devour me. It chose to make use of me instead.
You live to see another day. How terrible.
I'm not complaining.
Well, I do want to thank you for helping with those curses. And we need to fix that squeaky floorboard too.
I'm pleased I could help. I don't care for things like that.
I don't think any of us do.
You seem to have ill luck to have found 2 of them.
Ill luck, dumb luck, some sort of luck. I don't quite know, but...
What about the rest of the Dawnbringers? Are they carrying curses as well? Or just you?
Well, you could say that figuratively, probably. I don't think literally no, although I'm still jury's out when it comes to Griveth.
That is a strange one.
Yes. Yes, let's just leave it at that. It's a good way to put it. One would like to say he's harmless, but he also, picked up something that turned him kind of very evil type of thing. So,
Him?
Oh, yes, him.
Has that been expelled?
Oh dear God, I hope so. But there might be some fallout later. We'll see. He decided to. Who knows? And now he's got this new toy.
Yes, his blade. Very interesting. In any event, he's a useful warrior.
Useful, yes, but do keep your eye on him.
Very well.
You sure you want to join this motley crew of ours?
I'm still interested by the offer.
Well, that's actually good to know.
So do you want to patch this hole, or would you prefer to leave it?
No, we really actually probably should patch the hole up. I'm afraid if we leave it open like that, someone is going to fall through, especially with Hermes running back and forth and clatter clunk, something's going to happen.
As you say that, down in the basement, you hear...
My point, exactly.
I hope no one wanted that wine.
Oh, don't tell. Well, actually, he's not such a wine drinker. I think he'd be more concerned if it was ale. But, yes, we should probably get the hole patched up and hopefully get some rest.
That would be good.
It is pretty much at this point only about 9 or 10 a.m. You guys just woke up a couple hours ago.
It's still early.
Which means it'll be this day for about the next 2 months.
Yep.
Which means Talmud is day drinking.
By resting, it could be short rest. You know, some of us have some pretty nice injuries.
You know,
I will
and
say
I can
this.
kind of share things too if we do a short rest.
So I will say this. As you are all engaging in light activities, Cantriel and Drown working together, it's fairly straightforward and easy for the two of you to patch up the floor and get that hole covered up. So I will allow you to take the benefits of a short rest, all of you.
And I'm humming while I'm doing it so everyone gets that lovely little, I think it's a D8 now.
Ooh.
Yeah, you guys are level 9.
Hold on, where'd it go? It's somewhere on here. It's a D6. So you can add a D6 to things if you want.
It doesn't go up until like level 10 or 11, I think.
Yeah, it's the other one that went up to the D8 for inspiration.
So I will regain 5 from the Song of Rest, and I'll burn some hit dice. Goodness gracious.
And then, yeah, just make sure you hit the short rest and confirm it to get all of your short rest benefits back. Of course, that means Drown gets back spell slots, and I think Drown's actually Fig. Do you get anything?
Yeah, I get the Arcane Recovery.
Yes, that's what it is. Wizards, I want to play more wizards because I don't know them very well. During this rest, or kind of at the end of this rest, as some of these conversations have been been occurring concurrently, Talmud outside, seeing that there appears to be no danger, seeing a few of you moving around, some of the refugees begin to, at first, help you kind of come up and just start poking at the fire, helping you to stoke the fire. And then one of them kind of leans over and says, if this thing's no longer a danger, do we need all of these fires? Or can we put some of them out?
Oh, I didn't realize you guys were starting the other ones back up. No, I was just working on this one fire here. It's just, in case we needed some warmth or something to stare at for a while.
All right, leave you to this one, and I'll go see about letting the other ones go out. Valrin at some point comes into the house, stands nearby Drown and Cantriel where you're repairing, and he just gives you, to you it's pretty familiar, Drown, as he just sort of looks over your shoulder for a moment and then just sort of, that'll do.
The second he shows up, Drown stops fumbling with the hammer, which, I mean, it's a hammer and nails. He can make it go, but he's clearly not a craftsperson at all. So he just kind of reverses the hammer and hands it to Valrin.
And Valrin gives no argument and immediately just sets to work in the way that a very skilled craftsman, tradesman goes to work, focused on the task, and you can't help but notice the nail spikes are much more evenly spaced. The boards fit in just a little bit better than what you'd previously done.
Valrin is more of a prospector and miner by trade, but yeah, he's one of those people who knows their way around any tool they pick up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And every once in a while, Cantriel, as you're assisting and also, doing whatever you're doing to help, he might just, give a couple taps on the hammer, sort of doom, reach over and just barely move your end of the board just a little bit more so it's even, going right back to what he's doing. And a couple of the other refugees come in. They begin to set about cleaning up the rotten food, taking it out. They leave one of the fires burning out back. They start burning what they can of the foodstuffs and any debris, and begin cleaning up, making their best efforts to begin to, or rather continue the work that the original refugees had done. This place begins to bustle with activity, as many of the refugees are just glad that the danger is gone and to have something that they can do to keep them busy, but also something that they are doing of their own free will. They are not being commanded to do this. Very soon, people that are skilled in certain areas begin to take charge in the kitchen, in the bedrooms, and all around. Little work teams begin to form. At this point, there are a total of 49 refugees that are working. Several of them actually stay outside of the house as they begin to do additional work outside the house. Talmud, right near the end of this rest, you hear the sound of an approaching carriage on the road that leads up to the house, and you see the cloud of dust being kicked up, and you recognize the carriage as the carriage that belongs to the Lady Vantage that you all had taken into town previously. And it comes riding up, slowing as it approaches the gate, and it moves through the gate, coming to a stop near you. And there is a human man that you do not recognize that is driving the carriage. But two individuals that you do recognize step out of the carriage. Captain Dervish and Manistrad Copperlocks.
As the carriage is kind of pulling in through the gate, Talmud will take his thumb and his middle finger into the corners of his mouth and let out this really high-pitched whistle to kind of signal to those who are still in the house. And then he kind of turns and heads towards where the carriage is going to stop. Well, look who showed up just after all the action happened again, he says to the captain.
He kind of looks over your shoulder. I'm not sure what you're talking about. It looks to me like I missed out on a renovation project. Unless you're talking about the action that we had the other day in town, if you recall, I was involved in that. Then he glances over to the side to Manistrad. I mean, not directly involved like you were, but
are you trying to implicate that we had something to do with that?
I don't know, not at all.
Are you fueling this horse shit?
No.
Good.
No.
You know, it's probably a good idea that I fetch someone who can talk better. He kind of turns and starts heading back towards the house.
All of you would have heard the shrill whistle, so anybody that would can come out.
Yeah, as soon as I hear the whistle,
Yep.
Drown just sort of frowns, concentrates for a moment, and the black tentacles begin to writhe and glow with that greenish water, and they sort of thicken and get darker across his skin, and every now and then, just out of the corner of your eye, it seems like they're coiling and moving, a little bit like Maui's tattoos from Moana. And he places one hand on Valoran's shoulder and says, "Stay here," and just heads for the door.
I know the difference between, the, get over here whistle and the, leave me alone whistle. So I come out right away.
Cantriel would have been following after John, just sort of like, you don't always have to go on the high alert.
Was that a friendly whistle?
That was a get the hell out of here, I can't handle this whistle. But not in the danger whistle, get your butts out of here, I can't handle this type of whistle. He has different ones, all right? This one was more the heads up.
Then I'd prefer to be ready.
All right.
Fig?
Yeah, I think Fig would follow. Probably after retrieving Hermes from the depths and falling.
So you all sort of emerge from the house from a couple different doors. As Talmud is walking towards you, the rest of the Avengers, the Dawnbringers, emerge. Griveth comes out from around the side of the house. And just sort of, you hear the shifting of his armor as he just sort of places his hands on the hilt of Sir Bradford's honor, and his other hand, his arm holds the shield of Eldath. As you all sort of very quickly form up, you see Captain Stark actually takes a step back and sort of leans down to Manistrad, and like he's going to say something, and she just holds a hand up. She doesn't flinch at all as you all approach.
Oh, good captain. You actually do show up.
Oh, hey.
See?
Look. You act like I didn't help at all.
Well, let's just say you conveniently find means of helping in a different way.
He starts to say something. And he shakes his head. And he mutters something about you catch not doing this again, and you hear Irie's name mentioned. As he also mutters something about arguing with elves and takes a step back towards the carriage. He puts one foot up on the step coming out of the carriage, and then is just sort of leaning against the open door of the carriage.
Getting ready to scoot if you need to.
I'm not gonna do it.
Obviously, you all came here for a reason. So, what is it that we can do for you today?
Drown just crosses his arms and looms.
Fig and Hermes both copy Drown in folding their arms and like just trying to look as menacing as possible.
So you see Drown
bookends.
crosses his arms a moment later, followed by Fig doing the same thing, and then Hermes takes about twice as long to do it and kind of shifts. Hermes does it, but it keeps uncrossing his arms and recrossing them in the other way, and is still sort of his feet
Meanwhile,
shifting.
Thorgarn will go like, right up to him, big old smile on his face. He doesn't see any trouble here. He's actually in a really positive mindset at the moment. So those of you who might be looking in, he is far more chipper than you've probably seen him maybe ever. So what can we do for you?
Manistrad begins speaking. I told you that after the council had some time to speak, that we would have to talk to you all.
Okay.
That is why we are here.
Okay. Talk.
It would help if it started with an apology.
That's not going to happen.
Hey, one can help. One can hope.
First
Yeah.
of all, it is important that you understand the impact of the incident that happened in the harbor.
Yeah, it wrecked a lot of your town, and we saved the day.
Dan, I would like you to roll a D100, please.
Bird. Oof. 57.
V, I would like you to roll a D4, please.
Got a 4.
We believe that we have, with the help of the dwarves of the mining operation and many of the citizens of the town, uncovered all of the bodies. 228 citizens of Saltmarsh were killed, mostly in the assault from the warship and their mangonels. Buildings were destroyed. People were crushed. Some...
My condolences for your loss.
It is very difficult for me to tell, Thorgarn, if you are sincere or if you are bitter.
No bitterness. I don't like things dying that don't need to. But I have a problem with your town laying the blame on us.
Talmud moves to stand behind Thorgarn.
Cantriel gives him some bardic inspiration.
I do hope that you remember that however you view me now, we've spent nearly 2 months together. You did spend a month in Blazing Dell. Manistrad had come over with the original delegation, and then you spent another month traveling to Luskin before you set sail, which ironically your journey across the sea only took 2 days because of magic. But I understand perhaps all too well why you feel the way you do, Thorgarn. I'm not going to say I can... Let me rephrase this. I do not understand how you feel. I can empathize with you. In that it is unfair, the way in which the town is looking at you. Collectively, all of you. You can see, perhaps, why they would think this.
I don't. None whatsoever. We showed up to hatred, to your own people turning against one another. And all we did was help in every situation to more jeers, leers, and accusations. I honestly want nothing to do with your town. I want to set never again a foot in your town. There is nothing for me there. After the battle, I would have easily gone and helped rebuild. I would have helped look for bodies. I would have healed those who had wounds and were still living. But after we shed our blood in your town to defend it, I climbed atop that creature and drove my warhammer into its skull to defend your town. And yet, you have the audacity to say that it's our fault? No.
Again, you're not wrong. You're not wrong, Thorgarn.
Excellent. So is there anything else that we can do for you besides never coming back to your town?
Half of the town, if you
Doesn't
recall,
matter.
hated you and hated us when we arrived. It was the traditionalists that were so staunchly aligned against you, and the arrival of all of the dwarves. It was their plot that sought to frame your Captain Dervish here, and to quarantine myself and all the dwarves aboard the ship in the harbor. It was them who held you in disdain.
Uh-huh. Would you like to tell us anything else that we already know?
Roll me your choice, persuasion, intimidation. Added with your what you call it, the bardic inspiration if you choose. And because you're all standing in true Dawnbringers assemble formation, roll at advantage.
So you said persuasion or intimidation. It's
Yep,
the same.
it's your choice.
It's the same for me. I'm not proficient in either, so I'm gonna go for intimidation, and that is utter crap. So I am gonna use a domain die because there's a 1 and a 2 on my d20s.
Well, you got an extra one thanks to the raid from Unmade Gaming.
So that is a 12 and a 7 and a 1 for a dirty 20.
Versus Manistrod's 10. She looks as though she's about to say something else, to attempt to argue with you or convince you.
Look,
She looks around at everybody and she stops.
Look, when you came to town to hire us, you didn't do a very good sales pitch. Most of my companions weren't really interested in this trip. I thought there was something for us here. I had to convince them. And I convinced hard that, this was a chance for some of my kin to get some work, for us to seek some adventure and get some coin in the process. We never got to do any of what it was you hired us for. There were problems, and it all started with the members of your town. So I don't see any reason to continue any of this. I don't see a reason to attempt to stay under contract or extract any kind of coin. You go your way, we'll go ours.
She looks around at all of you, each of you in turn. Do you speak for all of you?
I am by no means the spokesman. I turn my back on her and kind of hold my hands out to the rest of you. Am I saying anything that the rest of you don't believe?
I find myself agreeing with you, Thorgarn, in most regards. I think I'm willing to listen to what she has to say, but
Unless I've missed something, we still haven't heard anything of substance.
it's going
And
to
you-
take a lot of convincing, though.
And you've said our share quite well.
Thank you.
Here, here.
So while I'm still facing the group, I've got my back to her, so I'm just gonna keep talking. So before we head out, there's a chance to do some good here. Wasn't there some talk about some lizard folk slavers? You guys have any interest in rooting any of that out? Oh, maybe
Slavers on the ocean and the lizard folk.
I think they were somehow in cahoots based on the little bit of information we had gathered.
I don't know, quite frankly, seeing what happened after we got involved helping them with slavers before.
Well, it's not for them. It's to do what's right.
The lizard folk are not anybody you need to worry about. We will deal with them. Thorgarn, as your back is turned, you hear the sound of something heavy hitting the ground behind you. And the rest of you watching, you would see as Manistrad reaches around to her belt and pulls a leather sack off of her belt. It lands heavily on the ground behind Thorgarn. This is payment for the contract and also releases you of any responsibilities for what we originally hired you for. In your own words, there is nothing else for you to do here. We will take care of things ourselves, and you can carry on leaving this area, and as you say, if it is your choice, never to set foot here again. The people here in this house, we recognize them and their freedom. They are welcome to continue inhabiting this place. We have opportunities for work in the reparations and throughout the town. Some of them may find work there, but we will not hinder them if they choose to go elsewhere. Your friend, and she seems a little uncertain as she says this, Captain Dervish has more information for you, and I believe has something to give you. Understand this. Take it for what you will. I, the dwarves, do not hold any ill will towards you. And if it were not for you, the dwarves would not be accepted into the town as they are now. Though it is a great tragedy, it is in the face of this tragedy that the dwarves were able to show what we are made of. And many have worked alongside us these past 2 days. Take that for what it is worth. And take the coin or leave it. The refugees can use it if you leave it behind. For what it's worth, if you ever decide to, perhaps one day you will be welcome back in Saltmarsh.
I am failing to contain my my laughter.
She turns and she heads back to the carriage. And though she maintains her stout demeanor, and this air of authority that she's always carried, you see that she wears a bit of a scowl, but it's one of disappointment and sadness. Dervish.
So it looks like she's not particularly happy to be delivering the news that she did.
Correct. Dervish steps forward. Yeah, so I mean, things are kind of rough between you and the town, and that's no secret. But I think things are going to be okay. Manistrad and the rest of the dwarves, I think you'd have been proud to see them the way they were working. And then I think they'll be all right.
Well, I certainly wouldn't want to leave them ostracized like they were before.
And the lizard folk, they're not involved in the slaving operations. They keep to themselves. They keep to the marshes. They've got some problems with the. Remember those creatures that we encountered when we came over?
Oh, those lovely little fish. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. The lizard folk have an issue with them. Well, it's best to let them sort it out.
Sure.
So he keeps kind of eyeing the sack of coin that was thrown on the ground. Like, you might want to, take that with you.
I want to collect it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't Talmud like already gathering it up?
For sure.
We don't want to. I just kind of like nod my head at the house.
What? Would he paint or?
Give it to them to give them a good start.
Talmud,
Talmud.
hoping to settle in this town?
Stay here? No.
We're not, but most of
them.
them will probably stay. Even if they don't care about the town, they need a place to live. Not all of them are ready to, be able to go join regular society and have a regular life again. It's going to take time. That means money, coin.
Aye, we came here to help people settle in and find a home here. So I think that I think we've done quite a bit in that direction. So I'm fine with leaving it with them. It's an awful lot, though, Thorgarn.
Do you look in the pouch at all?
Yeah.
He's probably
Absolutely.
just feeling the weight of it.
Yeah, smelling it.
The leather pouch is a pretty good sized pouch, about the size of a dwarven fist, and it contains a couple hundred gold pieces and an equal number of platinum pieces.
Oh.
I don't know that leaving all of this here is a great idea. This could spell trouble for them, having this much around.
How much is in there? That much.
Quite a bit.
Well,
Fig dear, how's that hat of yours doing?
like kind of like reaches up and he like shakes it a little bit, and in the recesses, just as an echo, you can hear this like ding, 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 ding.
Right.
Full get up.
Oh dear God, yes, please.
Of course. Why wouldn't Fig be?
I guess if not added more colors, for somehow he found time in this whole chaos just to add, a few patches here, maybe a flower decal there, just
Well, you can make it look like whatever you want. So,
yeah.
Talmud, since you have possession of it, there are 250 gold pieces and 250 platinum pieces.
So Ted is going to throw this out there as an idea. We take the platinum, we leave the gold.
Works for me.
Thorgarn would say, he wants nothing to do with any of it. But
as long as Ted gets his 2 cents in there. Dervish goes on to say, so looks like you're all gonna head out of here.
Does look that way, Captain. You managed to find yourself a new cook. You had some issues of you coming here as well.
Well, things are kind of looking up for me a little bit.
From what I understood, the people who framed you for being a slaver are now making the decisions for that town, no?
I don't work for the town. And he kind of motions over his shoulder to the carriage. So, Fig here gave the dreadnought to the Lady Vantage. And she sort of made me captain of it.
Does that make you a commodore?
Well, if I were to command a fleet, perhaps, but I'm kind of a one-ship kind of man.
No, you aren't.
I said a one-ship kind of a man.
Oh, you mean the actual ship, not relationships. All right. Yeah,
Yes.
fine.
So what happened?
That means, and he's still looking at you, Cantriel, that the Evangeline is in need of a captain.
I'm not going to be a fucking captain. No, I know nothing about boats. Are you crazy?
But you've got Victor. He knows everything there is to know about the ship. The crew knows everything. You need a way to get back home, yes?
So Thorgarn is going to get wide-eyed like this, big revelation just came under him, and he's going to grab Talmud by the shoulder and be like, Talmud can be captain, and just going to push him forward.
Are you out of your mind?
That was a joke, cousin.
You are going to have to pay me to get back on a boat.
I get the crew.
I've spoken to the crew, and all of them are staying with the Evangeline. I've got a crew of constructs. And they don't want to get involved with what I'm getting involved with.
What are you getting involved with?
I'm going to be working with the Lady Vantage and supporting King Embertal Scotty's war efforts to the north. I will be commanding the ship as we sail northward.
Interesting.
That means if any of the refugees want to head that way, they have transport, though I would not blame them if they did not want to set foot on the dreadnought again.
We could offer them either ship, depending upon, the direction. I don't know exactly where we're going yet.
That's a good point.
If that is indeed, if you're accepting the hat there, Captain Cantriel?
There's no catch to this. I'm not going to regret saying yes to this. There's not going to be some sort of thing that pops up out of the ship and decides to curse us all and take us down to the depths of hell.
Dervish walks forward until he's standing right in front of you, Cantriel. I give you my word as a captain of the sea. He reaches up and he takes his battered leather tricorn hat off of his head. He sort of turns it, working it through his fingers a little bit. Truth be told, the Evangeline was never really my ship to begin with. And I don't know what its destiny ultimately will be, but for a time I'm willing to let it be an instrument of the Dawnbringers. And he sort of hesitantly and reluctantly holds out the hat, the captain's hat, to you. I've shown you everything there is to know about the ship. Well, except for how to work the flight.
Yeah,
and
that little.
there is that room in the lower hold that you absolutely want to be careful of, because whatever's trapping it has killed at least 3 people.
Right.
We still don't
Room
know
of
what's on
doom.
the other side of that door. But Victor will protect that ship with his life. And I think she's in good hands with you at the helm. Just promise me one thing. Do not let Irie get her hands on that ship.
All right, well, maybe not the ship. Maybe I'll send her your way.
Well, hopefully I will be far underway to the north by the time that happens. There's a moment as he hands you the hat. Do you take it from him?
It's kind of like the almost afraid to touch it type of thing. Then finally we'll take a like the pinchers.
Well, when you go to take it, he does that thing where he kind of holds it a little too tightly and then lets it go. Okay.
I don't actually have to wear it, do I?
He reaches out, and unless you try to stop him, he snatches the hat back from you. It was symbolic.
Well, it's your hat. I don't know where your head's been lately.
Find your own damn hat. And he
will.
pops it back on his head. And he turns, and then he turns back. And he just says, wherever you're heading, whatever you're doing, all of you, be careful. Watch out for one another.
Names.
Likewise, you're the one sailing a ship with a bad reputation.
That's usually me that has the bad reputation, so we'll make a good match. And
war, apparently.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I said, into a war, apparently.
Well, I've caught fringes of the war here and there. It's time I got more involved.
Captain, despite my attitude towards the dwarf there, I got nothing against you. Sorry that you were brought into any of this mess. It's left you in a better place. I'm happy to hear it, truthfully.
I appreciate that. And you were asking, when you were in town, you were asking after the Dwarven Anvil.
I was indeed.
It might interest you to know that some of the dwarves from the mine are taking that place over again. It's back in dwarven hands, where it should be.
That was the only thing that I was curious about, was to get the story about what was going on there. But wasn't curious enough, based on the attitude that we received, to go back.
Well, strange as it is, sometimes entire towns can be kind of a dick, it seems. But know that not everybody feels that way towards you.
Well, you gotta make the decisions in your world, and when the people in power are gonna lay blame on those that are willing to try and make a change, it just means that someone else is gonna have to step up and be the hero for them. We got our own story to tell. We've got our own places to go.
This town and everyone in it are doomed the next time a disaster hits. Some of the dwarves might survive. Maybe they'll carry a few of the rest with them.
We'll take Drown with us, don't worry.
All right.
The doom and gloom yesterday might have gotten to me there, Drown. 9 of those people that you said were dead came out. So you know what? There is doom heading towards the town of Saltmarsh. I'm sure of it. But I think there's someone in there that will step up and meet the challenge, because the Dawnbringers aren't around. They don't have Alliander Firebrand anymore. And they got some horrible leadership, for sure. But someone in there will rise to the challenge.
And as you say this, Thorgarn, and as Dervish offers his hand to anybody that'll take it, shake your hands and bid farewell, Manistrad gives you all a curt nod and steps into the carriage. As your words, Thorgarn, to drown, as you speak them, we see in the background as everybody is working, all of the refugees are working together on fixing this place up, making it livable, working together. 3 individuals in particular stand out above all the rest, taking charge in various groups. Velitha, her brother Laramie, and the dwarf Velrin. The carriage turns around in the drive, heads out through the gate, and in a cloud of dust clatters and rolls away back towards Saltmarsh. Off to the east, or rather to the south, kind of southeast, where the bluff is, and you can see the ocean. You can see the Evangeline sailing towards where it had docked previously. And the sun is beginning to reach its zenith in the sky as it approaches noon. And that is where we are going to end tonight's session. That was fun. I love these RP sessions where I can just kind of sit back and let you guys talk and wait and normally I have no idea what's going to happen when certain characters or NPCs are introduced, but I had a pretty good sense of how things were going to go when Manistrad showed up.
Wonder why.
But I will say that Dervish would have taken a few minutes to just go over some of the particulars, and at a later time, I will add the information. I'm going to figure out how to do it. There's some customized information for the Evangeline. The Evangeline has some very specialized weaponry that you guys had discovered while you were sailing over. You loosely understand the properties of how the rapid sailing sort of teleportation works.
Does Drown have vehicles water by chance? Nice.
This is gonna be.
Drown is an outlander, not a sailor. Sorry.
No worries.
Well, you do have a crew. You do have an experienced crew that
This is true.
is taking on the inexperienced Captain Cantriel. So the basics, like I said, I'll give you more detail, but in case anybody wonders, the ship has the ability to travel a distance that the ship could travel normally, and that would take 10 days. You can do up to 10 days of worth of travel instantaneously. Each of those 10 days that is spent is regained at the rate of 1 day every 3 days. So at this rate, because you burned all 10 days getting to Saltmarsh when you first traveled across the sea, at this point, it only has 1 day of rapid travel available to it. The flight, again, I'll have the rules spelled out for you, but it basically works that there is 24 hours of flight time available. When all 24 hours have been expended, the ship will, much like Featherfall, gently come to a rest on the ground, and will not be able to fly again for 30 days. And keep in mind, unlike a standard type airship, this is a sailing vessel with a hull, with a rudder, and a rounded bottom. So it's not like you can just land it anywhere on the ground. So keep that in mind.
Out of curiosity, does the rapid transit time kind of reaccrue on its own, or do we have to use it all before it starts recharging?
Any amount that was used accrues back on its own.
Awesome.
So yeah, I will work on getting that information for you all. Also, to be clear, this is not the season finale of season 3. There's still a couple loose ends in figuring out what they want to do before they actually set sail. And I figure we'll probably have 1 to 2 sessions, at least one session on board the Evangeline sailing across the sea. While I imagine the Dawnbringers need to kind of bring Drown up to speed on what they're involved in, and where they're headed. You do know from your talks with the Lady Vantage that the threat lies back to the east across the sea, back in Faerun and inland from the Sword Coast.
We also have to go have an appointment with a tree.
What?
Have an appointment with the Glyphias tree.
Yeah. The tree that Scotty planted or Griveth planted?
Yeah, he hasn't pulled that out of the ground.
Oh, you mean the tree that he planted in the cave?
Yeah. That's got to get destroyed.
His token of love, goddammit.
Right. I love how you phrased that. That says so much. All right. Well, that was a great session following 2 days that took place over 6 sessions. With two incredibly intense battles. It might have been 7 sessions. It was 6 or 7 sessions to get through 2 days. I believe we are without Scotty again next week. And then we've got some dicey schedules coming up as some people are traveling for cons and things. We're going to get that sorted out. As long as we have 4 players, we will most likely continue on. And then as we are really close, we're within like probably 2 sessions, maybe 3 at tops of wrapping season 3. I can tell you that we will be heading into season 4, which is called Heart of the Nightfang Spire. So I want to say a huge thank you to everybody who joined us tonight in the chat. Of course, a huge thank you to Mike and friends over at Unmade Gaming. Be sure to check out the Dark Fortunes podcast, I believe is the correct title.
Yes, Dark Fortunes.
Where our own V is one of the cast members on this audio podcast that takes place. And in fact, your episode just got released.
Yes, it did.
I haven't had a chance to listen to it yet. I skipped just so I could kind of get a sense of it. I jumped in and I'm like, all right, yes. But they're incredible, very well produced audio podcasts from the crew at Unmade Gaming, playing with they're not playing in Humblewood, but using the Humblewood setting,
yeah.
And just doing incredible things with it. And I think what I've listened to so far, it's just absolutely incredible. So be sure to check that out. Follow Dark Fortunes podcast on Twitter to stay up to date on everything they've got going on. And I know myself and V and others will be retweeting that stuff as well. Thank you to those that subscribed or resubscribed during the game. We appreciate that as well. Things to look for tomorrow night. You're going to want to head over to Nerdarchy at 8 p.m. Eastern, where Ted will be DMing our new session in our RPG Crate sponsored game, where I play a turtle barbarian that was raised by dwarves, and Cantriel plays a bit of a fire kitty. Nope. I'm like, what does that look for? Cantriel does not have anything to do with that.
I love it. I've been inceptioned.
V plays a fire kitty, Bramble of Thorns, an absolutely wonderful and dangerous tabaxi. And then we have amazing characters by Megan and Asa as well. So be sure to tune in tomorrow night to check that out. Sunday night, we should be returning with our... Saturday night. Master of the Game RPG. Myself, Nate from WASD 20, Luke from the DM's Lair, Paula from Awkwardly Nerdy, DM'd by Juice from Master of the Game RPG. We are all gathering in Juice's game room about 30 minutes from here, because we're all Michiganders, as we play our Descent into Avernus campaign. And I believe for this session that Juice has moved it over to the Master the Game YouTube channel. We'll be streaming live to the YouTube channel. So tune into that Sunday night. Tomb of Annihilation. M is one of the players in that. We are well over 2 years, 64 sessions in on that. The characters are level 12. They're deep into the Tomb of the Nine Gods, getting ever closer to the end or their end. We're still not sure yet. Monday nights is our Waterdeep Dragon Heist campaign. And then this coming Tuesday will be myself under M's incredible DMing for Curse of Strahd, along with some other amazing players as we continue in that Curse of Strahd adventure. And then finally, before next week's Dawnbringers game, we have on Wednesday, you're going to want to tune into Erasmus Expeditions. That's Jeremy's YouTube channel, where myself and some other amazing role players are playing in Jeremy's homebrew setting of Momentum in a campaign called Whispers and Fragments. An absolutely incredible homebrew setting that Jeremy has, and we meet monthly for that game. And that is some of the highest caliber of emotional role play that I've engaged in a long time. Jeremy can sit back, sometimes can sit back for a full hour and not have to say a word while we tear ourselves apart. It's a beautiful thing. So as you can tell, lots of amazing things happening, not just on Mini Terrain Domain, but on all the other channels of these amazing players. Be sure to follow them all on social media, see what they've got going on in their own games. So with that, I want to say a final thank you to V, M, Ted, Dan, and Jeremy. You all are absolutely amazing folks. And I just love that we get to tell this story together every week. This is a great way to spend, especially when you're having a difficult week. I think we all kind of see this as our sort of our delight, I guess, in an otherwise dark week or day. I know I feel rejuvenated after spending a couple hours with you amazing nerds. So with that, we are going to end the stream, and we're going to say goodbye in the same way that we do with every stream. You can say it with me if you want.
Matilda!